This is way better than we thought for the Toronto Blue Jays. As following what has been a very exciting 2 days for the Major League club, Vladdy finally getting his feet under him. Down in the minor leagues, there has been one guy in particular who has continued to absolutely dominate. We're going to break down exactly who that is and discuss what this means going forward. As this has huge implications on the Jays' future. So stay tuned for that in this episode, as well as break down multiple updates ahead of tonight's big game against series opener in the Cleveland Guardians. Stay tuned for all in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been absolutely fantastic. So if you're a part of that percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying the daily content and you're happy the Jays are starting to win baseball games again, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for all that. Ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today. Now, obviously, the Jays are coming off of, I had a video on it last night, a huge win. That's back-to-back comeback wins. The vibes are high. Everything is good. But I want to take a step back for a minute and dive into some of the minor leagues. Now, I've been covering a lot of the minor league guys on this channel this season because there's been a lot of them who are playing well. Trey Savage, a lot of guys down, even Jake Bloss as of late. Arjun Nimmala, who I had a video on a couple, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. We have to do another video. As he becomes the youngest regular in the Northwest League, or he is the youngest regular in the Northwest League, and he just continues to hit bombs. And he's only 19 years old, and he is off to an unbelievable start. Arjun Nimmala continues to hit tanks. The Jays' top-ranked prospects ups his high Vancouver Canadians OPS to 940 as a 19-year-old. And the 19-year-old thing is very important here. When Arjun Nimmala was drafted, we had some videos on the channel about him when he was drafted, all these different things. He was kind of seen as a bit of a project guy, a guy who has some of the highest upside in the draft. And I believe he was drafted, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he was drafted at the 20 spot in the first round, somewhere around there. And, a bit later in the first round, but he was seen as someone who has the highest upside in the entire draft. And you just have to play with it, and hopefully he'll be able to unlock his talent. He has, after a bit of he had a very impressive spring considering he's 19 and facing major league pitching. But following an impressive spring, he goes down to Vancouver, struggles a little bit to start, and since then has been absolutely dominant. And he hits for power. He has good defense. He is this team's shortstop of the future, depending on what they do with Bichette, if they move Bichette around, all these different things. But regardless, his ETA, which we'll dive into, is 2027, 2028. Might even be a bit later than that, depending on how they want to, take him up. You see 2028, according to some, MLB pipeline. But man, oh man, is this player exciting. He's obviously a right-handed hitter. Looking at his scouting grades, they're on a grade from 20 to 80, in case you're familiar. 20 obviously being the worst, 80 being the best, 50 being in the middle. Anything above that is a plus. So he has plus power at 60, average run, a plus arm, field 50, but he has a ton of room to develop. And I think if he continues to hit bombs like this, he was drafted the 20th overall pick there. I was right. In 2023, just a couple of years ago, he is going to have some of the highest upside, and he still does. And that is why all these different prospect rankings have him specifically as the Jays' #1 prospect, because he's flown up and risen up the boards. It used to be, Ricky Tiedemann, then it was Trey Savage, and then with the new update, at least according to MLB Pipeline, it's now Arjun Nimmala. And then you can see this here. His ETA is 2028, whereas Trey Savage, who was a college, he was picked out of college in the first round as well in the 2024 draft. His ETA is next season, and currently he's an A-ball. So Arjun Nimmala is in a higher level than Trey Savage. And the prospects are starting to look a lot better now. You have Nimmala and Yasavage, who are both, both Nimmala and Yasavage. Those are two fun names to say back-to-back, interesting names to say back-to-back. They're both being extremely impressive. And then you have Ricky Tiedemann, who hopefully is going to be able to come back. You have Alek Manoah, who I don't consider a prospect anymore, but I know he's in the woodworks. Jake Bloss starting to perform well. There was a time where he was the Jays' #1 prospect for a little bit. Even guys like Landon Morautis. The prospect system is way better than we all initially thought. Let's look at his stats this season. Now, we're coming off of, in the Florida Complex League, in 8 games, he had an 1,000 OPS last year. Now, in Dunedin A, before he got promoted, a 790 OPS. Still, when he was 18 years old, that's a very solid OPS, which earned him a promotion. And you have to take the age into account for a lot of these things, of course. And the fact that he is 19 years old, playing again, he's the youngest active player who's actually getting regular at-bats. He has 6 home runs in 21 games. This team needs that kind of offense. The Toronto Blue Jays Major League Club needs that kind of offense. But one of the crucial things here is he's hitting .303, and one of the knocks is his contact ability. We know he hits for power. We know he does all that. But he's kind of tapped into hitting for average as well. And if you can hit for average and that amount of power, he's not going to draw a ton of walks. But he's also, he's going to strike out a little bit, but he's going to hit for home runs. 6 home runs in 21 games. That's, a very, very respectable pace. That's an over 30 home run pace. And it's at the point now where you're like, okay, around a 30 home run pace for a shortstop, 30, 36 home run pace for a shortstop who's 19 years old. You get that kind of power at the major league level with his ability. I mean, he's a great fielder by all accounts, and he has a great arm. He has a solid instincts. It's just way better than we thought. And it is a terrifying thing if you are, other teams in the pipeline. If you're, Arjun Nimmala, keep pushing. And he's a year or two away, but we have a lot of prospects who are going to be coming up soon, whether that be Elvis Martinez, Trey Savage. But at the same time, there's also, of course, the case to be made for maybe a trade. I don't want them to trade Arjun under any circumstances, but given the way that this team is kind of going all in, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade some of their prospects, because they've increased their value a lot. Even guys like Landon Morales, who I mentioned. You see this here from Keegan Matheson. Blue Jays' top prospects are out to an impressive start, and there's more good news coming off of the rehabs front. Landon Morales should return to games in the next few weeks, and Brandon Guerrero should follow soon after, encouraging things happening on the pitching side. And obviously, I mentioned how, Landon Morales has been impressive. Obviously, I'm talking about him before the season, where he hasn't pitched yet this season. He's, been coming off of rehab. He's been injured. But his season last year, and just in general, his development to put himself into the top 10 prospects is huge for Landon Morales. You have good news because he's coming back soon. Brandon Guerrero, who was once a Jays top 5 prospect all the way down to number 14, he's going to be returning soon. The lefty, hopefully he can come back and really be dominant in his stints. So it's a very exciting time if you're a Jays fan, because his pipeline went from horrible to last year at the deadline, flipped on its head, and is a lot better than it once was. But let's dive into a couple updates before we wrap up here. So I want to touch on the big game yesterday. John Schneider came out and said he sounds really pleased with how the Blue Jays handled their recent skid in the clubhouse and bounced back these last few days. I said it last night. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of momentum. Vlad just took it a little bit farther. And I got to give credit to John Schneider. He's been making the right calls as of late. And of course, when you're winning, it's easier to praise. When you're losing, it's easier to hate on him. His attitude throughout this has been very solid. He said, hey, listen, our team, we are better than what we're showing, and we're going to get there. The Orioles are 12-18. You have the Jays coming out, and the Jays are in a very, very good spot now. They are 15-16. Is that a fantastic record? No, but given the fact that they had one of the hardest months, and not that May is a lot easier, but it's a little bit easier, you'll take that all day long. And some of the worst baseball we've ever seen as Jays fans, and they're all the way right back in. You have Alejandro Kirk approaching a hopefully resurgence run. I don't think he's going to play tonight because he played 3 games in a row. We'll probably see some Tyler Heineman. And it's going to be very, very interesting. 12-18 for the Orioles. The Jays are now only 3 games back of the AL East lead, which is absurd. They continue to be successful at home. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. The vibes are high. The team is rolling. And again, 15-16 after that brutal month compared to some of the other teams in the AL East who are having a lot easier time regarding the schedule. Things are looking good. Things are looking up. And also regarding Arjun Nimmala, you can see this here. Arjun looks like a really special player. Can't wait to see which reliever and backup catcher we get from the deadline. Obviously a joke. I don't think they're going to trade Arjun, but it goes to show with the all-in approach they're in now, they're going to have to get rid of some of their prospects if they want to compete this year. But that'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Cheers.